This is part 2 of a 2-part webinar on XPunch.com, which is an online time management solution. In the first part, which will be available for viewing in the archives if you did miss it, is a PowerPoint presentation of XPunch, what the product is, and who uses it. In this second part, we will actually be looking at the site, going through the setup of an XPunch account, adding participants, making time punches in our projects and activities, and then reviewing the timesheets that are produced by that. So let's go ahead and create an account, pretending that we're a brand new user. Enter my email address. This email address will become my login for XPunch, and then naturally this is the password that I'll be using to log into XPunch in the future. And we can begin registration. And the account is created. So I'll have to go to the email to confirm registration. I'll just click over to my email inbox here and we'll confirm the registration. Okay, and we're now in, and we can now log in. And if I don't want to have to type this in each time, I can just click the boxes here. Okay, now this is a setup wizard, and it starts off with 3 potential choices depending on who you are. If you're an employee, you would choose this first one here. If you're an employer, you'll want to choose the second one. So an employer would have multiple participants, whereas in the first scenario, it's just one person using XPunch. The last one is for professionals, so these would be, say, for dentists or lawyers that are tracking their time, and they too can add participants. Of the 3, I'm going to pretend that I'm an employer, choose that option, and give myself a name. And our company doesn't have a website yet. Now in the wizard, you're going to be asked a few questions. If you don't answer them completely, you can always answer them at a later date once you're in the actual product, but I will go ahead and set up a few potential projects here. And some of the activities that we do, and some sample activities just to give you an idea of what an activity is in this program are already provided with you: break, meeting, and administration. Okay, there's just a few examples. And at this time we can add in the names of our employees that we would like to have connected to our XPunch account. Once again, if you don't enter them right now during the wizard, you can enter them anytime at a later date. So I'm just going to add one employee for the sake of time. And we're done with the setup, and we can now begin to use XPunch. This is the home screen. I'll just show you how to do a punch. So we're going to punch in. So I choose my activity that I'm doing. Let's say I'm starting off my day. I'm going to be doing some cleaning in the research and development wing. And I'm going to make a note. And I start the clock. Now after I've been cleaning for a while, I'll want to take a break, so I can switch to a different punch. We've chosen to note how long we spend on breaks, so I just switch over to break, and a new punch comes up. And I could continue to switch when I'm ready to go back cleaning or to another activity. I would just hit switch to a new punch again, and so on and so forth. And when I'm done, I can choose just to hit the express punch out to punch out of my punches. So we can see that we've already on our screen here, we already have 2 punches. Now let's say that I forgot yesterday or earlier this morning to punch in. I can do a manual punch, so I click on add new punch, and I'm going to add the fact that I was doing some administration in the textiles development at 9 a.m. this morning, and I worked until 9:25 on that. and we'll see that punch will appear up at the top of our punch board here. And we will see later on the timesheets that there is a difference between the first two punches that we did and this other one that we just did. The first two we did were live punches that are tied to the IP address that I'm using right now. So that tells my employer exactly where I was and precisely at what time I was at that machine when I made the punch, versus the third punch here that we just made, which is a manual punch. So XPunch will tell the administrator about the difference between those two punches. Just a note on the configurability of the product. In the configuration tab at the top here, we are able to go in and set up various elements like our business day that we work. Say we're working 9 to 5, and how often we want to see the intervals appearing on our main screen. We can also set up additional organizations, activities, projects, and invite more participants to our account. Speaking of participants, on a separate computer in the background, one of my colleagues has added that participant. So what happens is that person receives an email from XPunch requesting that they join XPunch, that they set up their own account, and then that they connect with your XPunch account so that their punches will be seen by you. So that has happened here in the background, and that person has accepted your invite or our invite that we made earlier. So we can, by going into the participants tab at the top here, we'll be able to see what they're doing. We can see that they're working at the moment for our company, and we can even go into their timesheet grid and take a look at what they're doing. So we can see that earlier this morning they were working at 9 a.m. to 9:30. They were working in the textiles department working on widgets, and they have since continued that again from about 10:45, and right now we can tell by the little blinking icon here, we can see that they're on break and that they have been for 2 minutes and 6 seconds. So we're just going to return to our own punch grid here, and that's what we're doing on here. Our history, if we ever need to go back and adjust a punch, is here. This is also viewable, very similar again to Microsoft Outlook. This is viewable in a daily, a weekly, or a monthly format, depending on what suits you best. And finally, we're going to wrap up by taking a look at the reports that you can do. We have two types of reports, a very simplified report here and one that is a lot more detailed. We'll just quickly take a look at the timesheet that we'll request for this week, and we can request those timesheets in Adobe Acrobat PDF format, sort of a universal free format, or you can also view your timesheets in Microsoft Excel. So I'm going to choose my preferred, which is PDF. Open that, and we will see the timesheets for the two employees, myself and my one employee example participant. We can see what's been going on. So we can see the IP addresses here, so we know exactly where the person was when they made their punch. And this little M here tells us that this is a manual punch. That means that the person either created it after the fact or they took a live punch and edited it after the fact. So that means that as far as trustworthiness goes, it means that they were not necessarily on the premises or at the IP location when they made that adjustment. And that depends really on your company, how important that is for you. So that is a very quick run through of the product, of what XPunch.com is. You can check it out yourself by visiting www.xpunch.com. As you can see, it's a very professional product, and yet at the same time it's totally free. So we hope you like the product. Visit us again at xpunch.com. Thank you for joining us today. For those of you that are visiting us during the live webinar, you will be receiving an email so that you can view the two archived versions of today's webinar.